Hey, it's Troy from hittingitsolid.com here. Thanks for watching. This video is all about hip action in the golf downswing. The hips play a key role in the downswing because they help us get that ideal low impact position so you can strike the ball better, not just with irons, but with your driver as well. So when we're talking about the hip action, there's three sort of schools of thought when it comes to how those hips move in the downswing. So from face on, you can have what's called a hip bumper or hip slide, and that's where the hips go like this. Or some golfers like to move the hips over and move the mass over at the same time as well. Or there's a third way, as we get to the backswing, is to really put pressure into that lead side, get more of a squat move and have those hips separate and really press into that side. Now, with the three of those, I think the most efficient way is the third method, and I'll explain to you why. With the first one, with the hip slide, a lot of golfers talk about getting a bit of a hip bump to start the downswing, but the problem when you bump your hips, unless you've got exceptional timing with your upper body, when you bump your hips like that, straight away it puts your upper body tilted back like this. The only way to get this club head to the golf ball, I'll set up to one here. If I bump my hips like this, the only way I can get that club to the ball is to really flip my hands. If I'm using a driver, I can get away to it to a certain extent because the ball's on a tee, but for my irons, when you're in this position, your low point control is going to be really difficult. You're going to be hitting a lot of shots back here. You might strike one up here. You might even catch one good. But as soon as those hips go out, the upper body tends to tilt back. Very difficult, not to mention the pressure it puts on your lead hip joint. And it also inhibits your ability to rotate as well. Now the second way I spoke about, that can also work as well, pushing everything over. But again, it compromises a lot of that low point control because you're moving a lot of your mass in your hips at the same time. And there is an element of timing to get over and strike the golf ball. Absolutely can work, but I think for you watching this, the third method, and I'm going to give you a great visual in just a second on why I think it's the best way of doing it. I'd like to see you, as you're starting your downswing, really get those hips to rotate open and get into this sort of position here, where I can feel this lead hip externally rotating. I'm feeling pressure into that lead foot. And this is a much more efficient way of really managing that low point control so you can strike the ball solid. Same with your driver. It works for both iron and driver. Now if I grab an alignment stick and I just put this through my belt loops, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about and a great feel that's going to help out your golf swing. So I encourage you to stand in front of a mirror and practice this. So you get most of the alignment stick out to the lead side and just have right up on the edge here on the right. And I'll just move a bit over here. Now with that slide move, you can see that alignment stick gets quite high. My hips get like this, the alignment stick goes up, and I'm in that really awkward position. The feel for you, which will help out your golf swing, help out with your rotation, getting into a great impact, I want you to feel as though that alignment stick is either level, even better, pointing down. So instead of this, I'd like to see you more like this. You can see how that's a lot more level, even try and get it pointing down. That's a more efficient way for your hips to work in the downswing. So if we go up here, that position there, those hips, you'll find it much easier for the hips to rotate and a lot more natural way for them to move. It'll encourage a much better impact position. a lot of positive benefits by moving that way. All right, so grab an alignment stick, jump in front of a mirror. That is a fantastic way to practice, to really get a good feel for how those hips should work in that downswing. So we'll get rid of this. Now the other important thing to remember, I think with the slide, a lot of golfers, I see they get a bit confused because we know we need to get pressure into that lead side and the downswing. And in an effort to do that, there's this want to sort of push like that. But if you understand with that third method, if you put pressure into that lead side and feel like it just stops. When you put pressure into that, it stops. And when you get that sort of stopping sensation, your hips are able to really get pressure in there and you're able to rotate much better and really nail that impact. I'll show you a simple drill now that's going to help you practice this and become a lot better at it so you can really build it into your game. All right, here's a simple step drill you can do to get those hips moving correctly in the downswing. So what I'm going to do is just have the club pointing out in front of you like that. Just take your normal stance. And you're just going to make a backswing from there and through. Now the idea with this is it's a very dynamic movement. We're constantly moving, but I really want your feet to be moving. And if need be, let the heels come up off the ground. So it's just going to start here and through. Great little drill to get those hips moving correctly. We don't want to be doing this. We want to be doing this. All right, so let's demonstrate hitting one. It's a little bit challenging if you've never done this before. Hands out in front. And through. Great little drill to practice. You can also do other variations of a step drill, having your feet a little bit closer together, stepping back, and then stepping through. Any sort of little variation with a step drill is effective in getting those legs and those hips to really work more effectively in that downswing. Now I've got another video coming up that's going to help you further enhance your downswing because it's covering the transition from the backswing to the downswing. So make sure you watch that video. It's coming up.